I now request everyone to stand up for the national anthem. A very good evening to all. I, Sharika Mahadevan, on behalf of the extramural lectures team of IIT Madras, welcome you all to the inaugural lecture of EML series 2016-2017. We have with us today the Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry, Dr. Kiran Bedi, who will speak on the topic Transparency in Governance and Administration Challenges Ahead. I now request the Honorable Director, Dr. Bhaskar Ramamurthy, to welcome the chief guest with a fruit basket. I now invite the speaker, Dr. Kiran Bedi, to deliver her much anticipated talk on transparency in governance and administration challenges ahead.
Hello, everybody. Let me get the stage right. Are you all students? So many? This IIT is capable of taking in so many? Capacity, yes. I see a lot of trees and forest, but classrooms, yes? Thank you for inviting me. This is my second visit to your extramural lecture. I have a picture of your first one. Have those students passed out from here? Are they still around? Well, they were so bright that they did leave. You don't do any introduction? You don't do any introduction of a speaker? Is it not a precedent? Why I thought was that I must tell you, I'm an IITian myself. And I thought, maybe in my introduction you would have said, there's an affinity between you and me. And the common link is that I am an IITian Delhi. I did my PhD doctorate from there when you were probably just born. My PhD was on the subject of drug abuse and domestic violence. I was a humanities student all my life, and that's when I know who's clapping. Students of humanities? Can this come further up? I have some very interesting slides for you, so I'm just wanting to make sure you actually get to see them well. I thought you had a wall screen, but you have another kind of screen, which is pretty good, but it could be bigger. Can this come up a little more here? But then you'll have to take the projector away, is it? Okay, then it won't fit in? All right. Is that the maximum? But thank you for doing this for me. Yeah, they say they can't do it better. Huh? Can you all see the screen? Okay, we'll show you a shot and see how it is. I'll check your vision. I recall the last time I came, it rained heavily. What happened in the rains this time? Have you been spared? Yes? Yes? Can I ask you a few questions till we set this right? Don't show all my slides. That's the leakage of test paper, right? Well, I've been a Lieutenant Governor of Puducherry now for 7 weeks. So it's a 7-week story. But what I did in the 7 weeks there, the roots are very deep. What you do today doesn't happen sometimes just by chance. It happens with something you've grown with, isn't it? Isn't it? It suddenly happens. Sometimes you do something and then you realize, why did you do it? And then you realize that was your habit of doing it. Because habits are formed over years and so do the attitudes. So this presentation of transparency and accountability in governance administration is coming out of that habit. If I'm coming in the way of anybody, can you see this? All of you from the gallery? Lovely. So here is my presentation, and I will take a lot of Q&A after this. So I'll first show you certain things. How many of you, let me ask you, would like to join the civil services? Raise your hands. Thank God there are not too many. Because joining civil services as engineers, were they humanities students or were they engineering students? Humanities. That makes sense. Okay, let's look at it. That's a subject you gave me, so I'm coming straight to the point. And then we'll take the other issues. What is transparency? Transparency means something which is easy to perceive or it's easy to detect. That's what it means as far as, if you would go back to the dictionary or the literal meaning, it means which is very easy to see. You don't have to go round and round to say, hey, what's it? You can see it right away with your naked eye, or you can get a sense of it. And you can even detect it. It's straight there, right before you, and you have to ask no questions. How do you achieve it? As administration now, how do you achieve it? As administration, by aligning the stakeholders and authentic communication. I'll explain to you both. Aligning stakeholders, what it meant for me, and authentic communication, what it means to me. Because this makes sense. Let me now tell you, when I asked you this question, how many of you would like to stand for the civil service, sit for the civil service examination? This presentation is very relevant and applicable for each one of you, because each one of you will be leaders in your own project management. You will lead the change. And if you're transformative, this will be of value to you. And each one of you who's here at the IIT Madras or Chennai, whatever you call it, is for transformation, as I believe. You've been brilliant in whatever you did so far. That's why you came this far. And the fact that you are basically brilliant, you've got basic qualities of hard work, you could mug a lot, your memory was brilliant, and you could make it here. So I would say that this is going to be applicable to engineers or students of humanity. So therefore, pay attention to this. Aligning stakeholders is very vital for you as you move up in your career. And authentic communication. I'll explain to you as I go. Case study, Puducherry. How many of you have been to Puducherry? Wow. Good number. You went to the ashram? All of went to the ashram? Yes? And you went to the beach? How many of you visited it this year? And how many of you visited it last month? Okay, you're welcome more. You're welcome more. So here is it. My case study of Puducherry is this. How did I make it more transparent? And how did I make the communications authentic? WhatsApp groups, we formed WhatsApp groups. WhatsApp groups of whom? WhatsApp groups of all public servants. Like for instance, all the ministries, the secretaries, the directors of the departments, the key deputy directors, the key functionaries, the chief engineers, the executive engineers, the school principals, all became a WhatsApp group. This happened within the last few weeks. So we became WhatsApp groups. We set up toll-free lines. Toll-free lines means besides 100, which is a toll-free line, friends, we set up many other lines. Like for instance, anybody having any information about crime could ring up 1031. This is something which I set up even before I took charge as Lieutenant Governor Puducherry. Rang up the Chief Secretary saying, I want a toll-free line where anybody having any information about crime could ring up 1031, it will be kept confidential, and we would like to detect crime. So it was that kind of communication straight away. So I'm looking at transparency in communication. So we set up toll-free lines, civic amenities grievances. Does Chennai have a crime-free, this kind of a line, 1031 kind, where if anybody is involved in crime, you can call up and your name can be confidential? Have you heard about it? Have you heard about it? Yes or no? Oh, I'm so sorry then. This is something required nationwide. A toll-free line about crime happening is required actually nationwide. So we set up toll-free lines besides traffic management, besides women's helplines. We also set up crime prevention helplines. The 10 a.m. meetings, I'll explain to you as I go, but I'm showing you a package of management. It's almost a package of management of projects. And it's all also like taking charge of what you have. How do you deliver better? So what is 10 a.m. meetings? I'll explain to you because I have some very interesting slides for you. Then departmental meetings, that's understood. Joint field visits, which you'll do plenty as engineers. But the word is joint. The word is joint, not field visits. Field visits we do, but the point is joint, collaborative. So these were the ones, if you notice, hey, what's happening? Open house was another. Open house meant that as Lieutenant Governor, as a Raj Nivas, I'm accessible to the common man in an open house. Not requiring any appointments, but I'm available for a common man on first come, first serve basis. Anybody who has a grievance, wants to see the Lieutenant Governor, comes, takes a token, waits for a turn, and comes one-to-one. I hold an open house as Lieutenant Governor every day from 5 to 6. So if you happen to come to Puducherry, you can come as open house 5 to 6. No appointments required. But if you are beyond 40, then you'll have to come another day. Because in 1 hour, I can do justice to 40 people. Social media, which I talked about. Social media is other aspects, Facebook, our emails, our Instagrams, our Twitter. We used all these handles, which I'll show you as I move on. The television and the radio, the channels, the FM, the town halls. This is like a town hall meeting where I'm sharing with you the good practices of authentic communication. So this is like a town hall. I held many. I'll show you how it was. Now let's go back to step 1. Remember I told you WhatsApp groups. Here is bringing all on a single platform. WhatsApp is the finest technology. It's not just to make your friend networks, but for governance, it's just a brilliant tool. And I explained to you how we all secretaries, heads of departments are all on one group. School principals in Puducherry are into one group. School principals are in one group. Non-government organizations today are in one group. So they can connect with Department of Social Welfare. Principals can connect with the Director of Education. The engineer, the Bijli department can connect with the superintending engineer on one group. And then the leader is connected with the leadership group. So it's a wheel within a wheel. Leader is connected with leadership group, but anything coming up then can convey to their own group by just 2 messages. That within seconds, the message is going across Puducherry, length and breadth, as to what we need to do. So it's Prosperous Puducherry, all on one platform. And my mantra was, when I took over, is, what is the mantra? Is Prosperous Puducherry. How do we make everything, all our action towards prosperity of Puducherry? Unless you have a mantra, this, it's a mission statement. So the 10 a.m. briefing brings everybody together. The 6 a.m. rounds, let me explain to you what this means. This meant 10 a.m. briefing. Let me see if the next one is here. I'm still getting used to this. I told you this was the mantra. What is 10 a.m. briefing? 6 a.m. rounds and mission ODF. I'll explain to you as I go one by one. Toll-free numbers I talked to you about. These were the numbers which we circulated and gave a lot of press advertisements that these are the reasons for which, like 1912 is power cut and power disaster. 1072 is natural calamities, flood, cyclone. 1077 is for cyclone rescue complaints. 108 for emergency ambulance. 100 for police. 1031 crime-related complaints will be kept confidential. 1073 crime traffic related. 1091 for women. 1093 for coastal police. 1014. So this is how we sent a message around saying, and this is how we monitor. This is transparency. This is authentic transparency. Anybody recording complaints here is monitored, is reverted to, and found out the consumer satisfaction. The daily step 3, the 10 a.m. meeting. 10 a.m. meeting video conferencing with all. You know, Puducherry is into 4 regions. It has 4 regions on the Andhra front, on the Kerala front, and the Chennai front. So we have 3 regions, Mahe, Yanam, and Karaikal. So we do video conferencing every day with all of them at 10 a.m. What are we discussing at 10 a.m.? We are discussing the issues of the day. We're discussing the reports of the day. We're discussing the media coverage of the day. We're discussing the policies and problems of the day. We're discussing the grievances which have come of the day. It's as transparent as it is. So it is about 10 a.m. And who all are sitting here? My secretary to the Lieutenant Governor, Mr. Nithi Das. My officer on special duty, Dr. Behel. My ADC sitting right here. The police officer, the secretary here, the additional secretary, and all this team of Department of Public Relations. This is the team which sits down, but on these 3 hours, others collectors, Mahe, Yanam, and Karaikal. So, and Puducherry, even this one is there. So basically it's all working together, 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. It's open communication. It's transparent. It's authentic. And it's minuted. How do we start with 10 a.m. meeting? 10 a.m. meeting is a wonderful concept, my friends. As project managers, if you want to have authentic communication, and which, as I said, it's credible and reliable, it's when you connect your team members, if you fortunately are in one head office. It's like your director having a 9 a.m. meeting with the heads of departments. It's a school principal having a 9 a.m. meeting or 8 a.m. meeting, depending on, we're saying, hey, what are the challenges of the day? It's like a station house officer having a beat briefing of the beat officers of in the morning. It's getting ready for the day. Step 4, department reviews with cabinet ministers. That's my chief minister, Mr. Narayan Swamy. This is the CII team for industry. That's my chief secretary. These are some of the ministers, and these are the CII officers. This is the collector of Goa. This is, I think, another Japanese industrialist. This is a PWD minister. This is Secretary IT. We do department reviews with cabinet ministers and ourselves. So it's again minuted. We begin the meeting by review of the yesterday's minutes. So whatever was done yesterday is reviewed the first day before, and whatever is left out is carried forward. We don't lose track of the meeting, of the decisions. So decisions are being taken, ideas are being generated, they are being transmitted again on WhatsApp and on our email, Google group, which we have, where we're sending the minutes of the meeting. Everybody, it's paperless, but if we are using the, as I told you, the IT network, to everybody getting the minutes of the meeting, who's to take action, and then we get back to see what happened the following day. These are department reviews concerning different policies, tourism, education, etc., etc. Department reviews with cabinet ministers I did. Oh. Department reviews with others, these are some other shots of other cabinet ministers. That's a conference room in my office. Remember I told you about the joint field visits? It's joint field visits means you have the ministers, the MLAs with you. Friends, this is what has happened. This was what was happening today till when I took over. The whole area of almost about 5 kilometers was breathing poison for the last 5 years. It was breathing poison for the last 5 years because the heat, which is garbage generates, heaps of garbage generates smoke. And that smoke goes all over and it was poisonous. I remember in one of my first visits, when I saw that, I told my team that I'm going to only stay here. I'm not going to go, and nor will any one of you go, till this poison stops. I think that's the message which went, that we are determined to settle it. We didn't know the right way, but we start to call the fire brigade, and fire brigade saying, this is fire, let's do it. But once that determination was seen, this is the benefit of joint visits. No paper report. Without paper reports, we are on site. It was very unhealthy. It was very smelly. You see the situation. This is the situation around the country in municipal services today. And we need technology solutions. And world has created technology solutions. Unfortunately, many municipal services have not adopted those technicals. And Chennai has been a leader in some of the localized solutions. And not as a state, but individual districts, when I read newspapers, some officers have taken initiatives in their own respective areas. I think that's very credible. But the question is, does the state have solutions? Does the state as a whole have solutions? What is happening here is that we are looking at Puducherry solutions. So what did we do? One of my municipal commissioner called Ramesh, he did a fantastic work. He drove a wedge into this, turned it around, drew the heat out, and then started to cover it. I do not know whether this next slide shows that. No, it doesn't. As goes back. We've started to cover it now by jute. So the heat has gone, the smell is gone. This is now being covered by jute. This is from an engineer called Mr. Srinivas from Vellore. He has got the solution. So we are now covering it by jute stripes, and the problem is getting resolved. And on this jute stripe, we are throwing seeds of rye. And within, by the first rain, you will have this as a green compound. No more smelly and no more this. So this is paperless joint work. Friends, this is what you need to learn. I'm going to come to you as how do we sustain this? How do we attitudinal sustain this? I'm here to also educate you to make better leaders of tomorrow, because this country needs very desperately right kind of leadership. Here's the next one. This is another area where we went. You see this? And we are right here. You couldn't be more transparent and recording everything what was. This is my chief engineer standing. This is director of land and development. This is the collector. This is the police inspector general. This is around at 6 a.m. in the morning. Why at 6 a.m.? Because then there's no traffic, you can concentrate much more. And as Lieutenant Governor, this is the only time I can spare, as my part of Shramdan is 6 a.m. on Saturdays and Sundays. So friends, this is how we did. This has a 95 kilometers canal, French-made a canal, 95 kilometers for storm water. And this is where we are ensuring that this gets desilted before the monsoons come in October. And then it has a higher carrying capacity. So joint field visits with Speaker and other MLAs. That's the MLA of the area. So it's a totally joint program. This gentleman is doing the Swachh cleaning every day, is an outsourced who does the garbage picking up every day. He's the sanitary, he's been given this task. So see how collectively we're watching the problem. Can anyone say we don't have a problem? By doing these kinds of joint visits, can anybody turn around saying, you are exaggerating the problem doesn't exist? Can anybody say that? Yes or no? Can anybody say you're exaggerating and the problem doesn't exist? Yes? Can anybody say? No, because you're seeing it, seeing is believing. This is sex open house. I told you about the open house. Open house at Raj Nivas. 5 to 6 is open. Anybody can come in, and these are it's not sitting and listening. We are standing, working on the table, turn by turn, these people come, and their issues are addressed. And then we have the paralegals also sitting with us. Any case which needs to go to Lok Adalat goes to Lok Adalat, so the small matters can be addressed. This is a social media Facebook. You can't read this, but this is a feedback of the social media feedback where we've got messages, how we responded to every Twitter, every message which we got. We acknowledge we have an the Lieutenant Governor Puducherry Twitter handle. You have my handle. So both the handles work together to respond to people's notifications. So we read all notifications to address issues. This goes on the WhatsApp. This message of notification goes on the WhatsApp, and the WhatsApp then is acted upon. It also goes on toll-free numbers. It also is called upon. It's also visited during the morning rounds. See, there's so many things by which you're verifying. So we look at social media feedback. If you notice how things were changing, this was posted by a Twitter reader. He tweeted us this, and he said, this is how it is now. He had said, thank you so much for this, requesting to fence the area to stop further defecation. This was the area when he tweeted us. This is the area which became soon after we responded to his call. This was the way difference became. This is substations, look at the dump and defecation. These are the challenges the cities are facing. But what is needed is strong communication, strong grievance redressal. Step 8, broadcast, media, and television radio. This was the year when we completed a month. I went up on the radio and told them, thank you for all that you did. And this is my secretary, Mr. Nithi Dash, who then translated into Tamil. And that's how we reached out to the people on the challenges we have and the challenges we need to address. So reaching out through television and radio. As I told you, plenty of town halls. Reaching out to letting them know why we are working the way we are working. What are our challenges which we need to address, called open communications. No hidden agendas, openly sharing what the problem is. Police and municipality staff town hall, bringing them together that while you patrol, if you detect anything, share it with each other, bringing people together, not working in silos. School principals town hall. These are principals, I told you, they are all a WhatsApp group. So we are now sharing good news about what we need to do as a month's program is going into one message. Ex-servicemen also brought in for disaster management. Police beat officers town hall. Today, Every inch of the Puducherry is under one beat officer or the other. These people have taken accountability for the entire Puducherry, so that anything happening in any area, they need to know. But point is prevention, and then be ready for response. So this is as transparent. They attend a morning briefing at 10 a.m. with their 9 a.m. with their station house officers as to what has happened in their beat, what has happened in Puducherry, what has happened in India. Any terror attack anywhere, what's happened in Chennai. You had recently a serious crime against women here. We were briefing them all about it, so that they get to know what's happening. Just because something's not happening in Puducherry does not mean it cannot happen here. Similarly with Public Works Department, Revenue, Power, Line, Staff, Town Hall, all of them getting together for understanding why we must work together, why we must talk openly, why we must communicate openly and freely, and why we must join hands with each other. Now the challenge ahead. I've given you some instances of my last 9 weeks, some of the initiatives I've taken. Let's look at the challenges ahead. The first challenge is, how do we keep the system sustained? Second, there are 4 partners to ensure it. Who? Public servants, political representatives, people, and the media, the press. It's the 4P. It's the 4P. Public servants, political representatives, people, and press. You will be here too. You will be here as well. When you are working, you are as engineers, whether you join with the government or otherwise, you are both. You are people's leaders. You are people, you are citizens, and you are public servants. You may not be this, you may not be this, but you are these two. How do we keep these systems sustained? These are the key 4 partners. Question is, what made me do this? Did I get an induction training as a Lieutenant Governor? Was I sent into a prior training program to do this? Now I'm going to make this a little personal, otherwise I can't make you understand what I'm trying to understand. Today, in our country, we are getting public servants, friends, who are doing their duty. But some of them are transformative. Some of them are very status quoists. Some of them are sensitive, and some of them are not sensitive. And do you know the price of being insensitive? Every single public servant not sensitive costs the public huge amount of agony. And where are they coming from? These public servants who join the Indian Police Service, the Indian Administrative Services, or the state civil services, where are they coming from? That's my real question. And that's my challenge for you to understand today, if I'm successful in making you understand what I'm going to say. Where are they coming from? They've done some excellent schooling, otherwise they wouldn't have made it to the universities of these kinds. And then once they come here, they pass out, and they join the services because you got the brains. You may not have the attitude, but you got the brains. You may not have the heart, but you've done it for numbers. The question is, how do we get that heart to serve? Challenge for the youth of this country is, where is the heart to serve? And when did I get it? I don't even know that. It grows with you. It grows with you. And it continues to grow if you allow it to grow. It can be killed as well. So I'm very worried, and I'm very concerned. And I'm actually wondering, where do we get everybody who's come up to the All India Civil Service, who's made it to the All India Civil Services, delivers? Because what happens in this is that these public servants continue to only serve them. They forget this group. And this group needs this group. This group needs them. Not once. These people are used by them once in 5 years. And these people, those who are not the sensitive kind, are hurting society in a huge way. That's why I asked you initially, who out of you is going to join government service? But you are also engineers. You're also going to be technicians. You're going to be technical hands. You will be serving the government. You will be serving corporates, which also have a strong public footprint. What kind of service will you deliver? So sustainability, therefore, my friends, is what kind for public servants, what kind of public servants will we make? But before you do, you are persons. You are persons. And while you study, while you prepare for your exams, while you're qualifying for the toughest exams, are you developing as persons? Who is teaching you how to develop as good people, as good citizens, as warm-hearted people, people who empathize? One word, who are conscientious. The word is how many of you are developing to be conscientious. Conscientious to get the marks, but conscientious towards society. Conscientious towards your family. Family comes naturally. But society, your nation. Even if you go overseas, many of you will go overseas. You can do plenty going overseas. Would you return your gratitude in some way? What is gratitude for you? How many of you are you here by a bank loan? Any one of you has taken a bank loan to be here in IIT Chennai? Raise your hands. Anybody? No. Why? Who's paying for us? Who is paying for us? Who is paying? Who's paying? Who? Who's paying for us? Who paid for my IIT when I did my PhD? I paid 200 rupees for a hostel for a whole year. Only 200 rupees in the early 90s when I did my PhD. 200 rupees. It was not even 180 something for a whole year. So who's paying? Will you repay? Will you repay? And how will you repay? In what form will you repay? And can you repay? Because what is coming to you, this is the age when you needed it. It's like help coming to you when you needed it. Can you repay this time? Yes or no? Can you repay this time? Yes or no? Can you? You cannot. You cannot. You cannot pay it enough at all. You cannot, because time cannot be bought. This time, this opportunity cannot be bought, friends. It is priceless. Certain things in life are priceless. Like good health is priceless. Can you buy good health on the market? Can you? You can get a treatment done. You can pay for a good treatment. But can you go buy good health saying, listen, this thing is bad, I'm not very healthy, can you give me good health? Here's 5,000 rupees. You can buy an injection. You can buy a doctor's treatment. But you cannot buy totality of good health. It's priceless. So what you have is priceless. Today, there is a big movement on organ donation. How priceless these are. Can you manufacture a kidney? Can we manufacture a heart? Can we manufacture a tissues? Not yet. Can we harvest? We can only harvest. We cannot manufacture. You cannot get this time back. So the time, help which is coming to you is priceless. So this is the gratitude format in which, this is the gratitude feeling you will have to live with. I lived it. I live it till now. What I got at the right age, at the right time, in the right amount, if it hadn't come at that time, I wouldn't have been here today. This is what the youth is forgetting. I'm only trying to sensitize you. Because having gone there in this position, earlier I used to speak on the television channels and explain and complain. Today I realize I can see firsthand what is right and what is not right. And there's something seriously needing to be right in my next generation. That's you. Otherwise, no change, no transformation will be sustained. Your attitude has to be one of conscientious responsibility, conscientious gratitude. And is there a class called gratitude here? Are you learning gratitude? Are you learning gratitude? When will you learn it then? And would you listen to a gratitude class? And can it be learned? Can it be learned? Can it be learned? Are you sleeping? Can it be learned? Can it be learned? How? How can it be learned? How can you learn gratitude? How many of you have served and seen pain directly? You coming back from the grassroots. Have you volunteered service as students, as IITians? Have you already volunteered somewhere when you have a little bit of a holiday where you volunteer? Express my gratitude? Have you? Yes or no? You have? Good. What is it? I want to hear that. You handled the floods last time of Chennai? That's it? Is that it? No? No? What is it that you're serving? How are you expressing your gratitude daily basis? What is your higher purpose? What are you growing up for? How are you looking at your country? How are you looking at transforming this nation? How are you looking at your own roles that you will be the change? How are you looking at creating genuine wealth? How are you grooming yourself to be leaders of tomorrow? How are you showing your discipline? How are you learning discipline? How are you training yourself to be disciplined? How? Those are the issues. While you're all bright, you will learn, mug and learn. But the key is, how do we sustain good changes? And that would be you, each one of you. There's a story. There's a person who went up to the Lord and said, "Oh God, where have you sent me? Bring me back." He says, "Why?" He says, "Everything's wrong downstairs. Everything's wrong downstairs. There's corruption, there's violence, there's selfishness, there's competition, there's no merit, there's dishonesty. So God, bring me back." He said, "No, go back. I sent you to build a better you. Build a better you." How are you building a better you? There can't be better institutions than this. And I know, I have a Puducherry University there. The other day when I took a little briefing from the Vice Chancellor, the amount of money which is pumped into universities is unimaginable. This country is affording it. I'm surprised. Everything's free. Everything's free. And everything's demanded to be free. You raise a few more rupees, there's a strike. All I'm asking is a conscientious upbringing, a conscientious development, a conscientious personal training, remembering what are you getting and what will you give and why must you give. And you have to decide for yourselves, what will you give back to your country? Because that's priceless. What you're getting is priceless. It just cannot be made. Things coming at the wrong time, it's coming at the wrong time makes no difference. Supposing you got this admission when you were already 35, would it work? Would it have worked? No. It's coming at the right time. You got the energy to do it. So what I've observed is India will not change unless its next generation changes. It thinks differently. It's a grateful nation. It's a nation builder. It's a man and women of character. It's one with gratitude. One which thinks, which is transparent, which is authentic, which communicates correctly, not just Facebook for friends, Facebook for work, WhatsApp for work, to communicate in the right way for the right reason. Do both. You need friends, but you also need to work together. So this is what I thought I'll share with you. Giving you my Puducherry case study, that's the subject you gave me, and rather than theoretically speaking to you, share with you that these are some of the postings I can just, do you know, somebody asked me the other day that you've been in Puducherry, how many heritage sites have you visited? And my reply was, I only know how long the drains are. I only know how long the drains are in Puducherry. I yet do not know my heritage sites because I've only looked at the drains. Why? Because when the October, November, December comes, there's a heavy monsoon and there's a flooding. And when there's floods, all these unclean drains flow into people's houses. And when they flow into people's houses, it is a fact of life, they say. And then everybody's released some money being granted. I believe last year was about 140 crores gifted away. So I told them this time, we are not going to borrow any money, nor are we going to give money. We're going to do the job jolly well done. Friends, what? We're not going to borrow. It'll be a shame if we do. Why can't we prepare now? Why can't we work now? And friends, it's no simple thing. It's no simple thing. Yeah, I'm coming to questions. So as far as I'm concerned, we are only looking for a new generation. Your questions now.
Good evening, ma'am.
Yes.
We have collected a few questions from students here. So in one of your recent town halls, when you have been approached by a couple for help regarding admission of their kid into a private school, you have confidently told them to join a government school and you told them you'll make it better. So our students want to know, what is your plan of action?
Exactly, to make better citizens. I only want the teachers to teach better. Do you really need a very big building to teach better?
No. Teachers
You just need the teacher to build better. So we are only trying to create better teachers so that they deliver.
Ma'am, this is a bit of deviation from the topic. So you were a national tennis player and also part of political scenario. So do you agree with the political theory which says politics is like tennis, an individual-based game with voters tossed around by political backhands?
Can I read this? Do you agree with John Simon's theory that politics is like tennis, an individual-based game with voters tossed around by political backhands? Well, it's still a clean game. It's still a clean game. It's still a clean game, but it isn't clean. So this is still clean, but in reality it is not clean. So tennis, even with tossed backhands, is still clean. But real politics is not clean at all. Therefore, it's got no comparison with tennis.
So that was a question from humanities student.
Yeah.
So the next question, ma'am, you have been using WhatsApp, video calling and other advanced technologies. So you have shown us the PowerPoint here. Do you think lower levels of administration are equipped enough to cope up with the change?
Yes, they are.
So,
They're coming from one of us. Why not? They only have to believe in themselves and remember that it's their duty to do what they're supposed to be doing. They just should not forget their duty and should take the challenges as they come. They should have the courage to serve. Problem is that they lose their courage the moment they get appointed.
thank you, ma'am. With the next question. So, one of our student feels that the recent Delhi High Court's judgment that a Lieutenant Governor need not act according to the advice of the Council of Ministers is undemocratic yet constitutional. Can you please comment?
Well, that's the Constitution, that's it. That's the Constitution. And that's our history.
Yes, yes. The last question, ma'am. In the past, you have expressed that political parties should be under the ambit of RTI Act.
Where is it? Where's the question?
Second one.
Okay. You've expressed in the past that political parties should be put under the ambit of RTI. What is your take on this now, considering the changes in the political equations? There's no change in my political equations. I was never political anyway.
Okay, ma'am.
I'm not political anyway. I don't know what politics is. I only know what academics is. I only know what administration is. I don't know what politics is. That's why I couldn't win the elections. If I knew politics, I wouldn't have been here today.
Yes, ma'am. That was one of the questions in your answer.
Yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you very much.
So what's your takeaway? You got 5 minutes? You got 5 minutes? Give me 5 takeaways. Yes, yes.
Yes, sure.
Go ahead. 5 takeaways. What are your takeaways? What kind of engineer will we see in you tomorrow? A nation builder or a nation fighter?
I follow you on Twitter and I saw this very enlightening tweet. Every law is a responsibility to be exercised through a right which it accords. Problem is when we confuse or forget the responsibility it bestows. This was 2 days ago, I think. And then there's another tweet, and I quote, "Ex-criminal tribes are known to be very cruel. They are hardcore professionals in committing crimes, rarely caught and or convicted." In light of the first tweet and your opinions regarding sensitivity, how would you comment on the second tweet that I just quoted? Is there any provision to book you under the Act of SCST Prevention of Atrocities Act? Thank you.
Since this is a tweet and it has limited to 140 words, if you read my book, I Dare, you will find the amount of work I've done with ex-criminal tribes. And I've reformed them. I worked very closely with them. I got them out of a lot of crime habits. If you read the book, I Dare, it's a whole chapter. That traditionally they were involved in brewing illicit liquor. Traditionally they were involved in, that's why the Britishers had named them. And post-independence, that was declared, that was taken off. My point is not all. What I'm saying is people of this, certain people with this background, which I've experienced, I've suffered it. When I was running a West District in my first assignments, people from these backgrounds, I'm not saying all, I'm saying people with this kind of background, you could never get them. You would never get them. This was their modus operandi. That's history, unfortunate history. Many of them have come into the mainstream, but many haven't. We need to work with them, as I did. I reformed them. I rehabilitated them. I'm not even mentioning the names of these people because it's no more relevant. So that's what I meant, that they are tough. Those who've not been reformed need to be worked very hard. And they are not accessible also. You cannot sometimes enter where they are. It's very tough. So you need a very hard, small, hard package of social reform to work with them, to work with the next generation, so that we get them out of a mindset of crime and bring them into the mainstream, which I did many years ago. And that reform aspect is a part of my Maxis Award when I got it, saying she reformed them. That's what I meant. When I tweeted this, it was coming out of anguish that you need to work with them because some of them are still caught in that mire. The manner in which that crime happened was typical modus operandi. And the modus operandi of that time matched it this time. How? They would hit, they would violate a body, they would rob, and then they would disappear. You cannot get them. So therefore, this country needs a very strong social welfare package for people who have not been able to wean away from habits of crime, whether it's illicit brew or whether it's the rapes, committing crimes against women, or during my time, they used to hack away women's arms because they were wearing the big silver here. They would hack the arm to get that silver. I've seen it with my own eyes. So when I tweeted that, it was an experience of a police officer and saying we need to. Now, the question is, in 140 words, it wasn't enough. So that's what I meant. It was anguish that we need to work with them. And I'm willing to continue to work with them because I understand them. I know them. They know me too. They know me too, by the way. Yes, yes, please. Could you please give him the mic?
Good evening. Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, I've been tracking the education system. I've been tracking the education system of class 12th for the late 2 months. And as you have just said, we don't need big buildings, we need good
I cannot hear him properly. Just close the mic. It's getting muffled. Yeah.
Okay.
Don't touch that this portion. Yeah.
Ma'am, I've been tracking the education system of up to class 12th. And as you have just said, we don't need good buildings, we need good teachers. Okay. And I've been sorting out that there are many teachers up to class 12th, and I've been thinking of many ways to make them better so as to make the good situation in short amount of time. So I made some conclusions which might be against laws and might be taking much more time. So I need your tips on this so as to make that good situation in short amount of time.
So are you saying how do we make better teachers?
Yes.
Do you know who's your best teacher?
Yes.
Who?
My mother.
That's right. Your mother and your father are your best teachers. Then certainly your school teachers are your next teachers. They are academic teachers, but do you know, besides your mother and father, you are your own teacher. Every one of us is our own teacher. How we decide to think for ourselves. How do we decide to speak for ourselves? How do we decide to conduct ourselves? We are a mind over a mind. Each one of us has to mind our own mind. So best teachers are certainly your home, but your books. A stage comes when you're not in a class anymore. You're by yourself. Who's teaching whom then? You. You pick up a book which you want to read. You call a friend which you want to call. You go to a place where you want to call. These are all your choices. So you making better choices daily is your own self-teaching. That is the message. In fact, you've said it rightly. You made me say it. The youth will have to be your own teacher. The point is you are listening to each other. You're not minding your own mind. You're not deciding your own purpose. Every human being is an asset or a liability in this country. in this world. Every human being is either an asset or a liability. And how does he become an asset? First of all, with good health. He's got the energy, and the second, he's got the right thinking, right head on the right shoulders. So that is where you have to nutrition it every day. You have to nurture it every day. And unless you do that, you can blame your mother and you can blame your teachers. But what about you? If you decide to read the right thing every day and absorb that, you are your own teacher. Our teaching methods are very strange here. You go through the West, they'll not teach you. They'll say, you teach us. You go do your learning and research, now you tell us. And if you haven't done your projects, they say, pack off, go home. They don't teach, they say, learn. So what am I saying? Learn daily. Once you start learning daily, you'll develop into great characters. Thank you.
Good evening, madam. You said like you are conducting so many meetings among the government officials throughout the day, right? It's happening almost from the independence we got, but we didn't got any progress on top of it. Now, what I'm asking is, instead of having a lot of meetings with government officials, what you are doing to educate the common man?
What did you see in the slides?
No, it's all about only meetings with officials and WhatsApp group and nothing, and
Okay.
not directly related to the common man.
Was it only meetings? Was it only meetings?
No, of
Or
course.
did you see any field visits?
Field visits? Oh no, I'm not
Come,
saying.
bring the mic closer.
That's among your government officials only, right? You're going to some part and you're doing. You are finding a problem over, in a certain area, and you are finding to sort out that problem. But what can you say? As you said, like you went to some dump yard and you did something, right? Instead of.
What did I do? Something? What did I do? Something?
What I mean to say is, instead of making all the things done by government, why don't you make the people aware and how they can control themselves, not to do, not to pollute the environment and such kind of things.
Is it that simple?
Of course, it's not simple, but why don't you try?
Or it's not that simple?
Since
Giving one announcement on the television saying, please don't throw garbage into the drains enough?
Of course, it's not enough. What I mean to say is, if somebody throws the garbage into the drainage, not every time a government official come and clean this, right? So the individual has
telling citizens by one order, don't throw plastic into the drains enough?
Why don't you make a stringent rule that those who throw the plastic into the drain, they will punish?
Who implements the stringent rules?
As a governor, who can do, right?
As a governor, I implement stringent rules. Through what? Through people like you, who join the services.
Yes.
People like you, who at that time stop going to the field. And you stop staying back in your air-conditioned rooms. And then the governor has to take you out and take you to the field to say, see the problem. Otherwise, had the youngsters every day gone to the field, the problem wouldn't have existed. But they don't go because they prefer the air-conditioned room now. You're right? Why? Because you, as a student, have not played enough in the field. You've not been stretched out. You've not been stretched out. Your circumstances becoming very comfortable and controlled. It's not challenging. So when challenge comes, you refuse it. You decline it. You choose comfort over challenge. And that's the change which I'm trying to drive at. You understand? When I go to the dump yard, there are people also there. They're not part of the slide because the slide can only show you this much. But there are a lot of people around, behind, left, right, who are complaining of the problem. who are getting us at us, saying, what the hell are you doing? So it's a lot of people. And the town halls is all people, isn't it? The town halls is people, isn't it? Wasn't it people? Did you see the town hall pictures? Good. So you saw the town hall pictures. Good. So it's all people. But I only gave you an indication of what is transparent governance. Transparent governance is reaching out to the people, sharing what you have, and then emerging policies out of it. And the people know what the policy is. Thank you. Any other?
So, we are
Okay,
closing the
we have the
question.
last question, friends. We got to
Yeah,
go.
this is the last
I have to
question.
go for another event.
Good evening, ma'am. Ma'am, actually my question is like, we at basic level, we are talking about like eradicating crime and all, but what I think is like the basic education and the basic sanity, the basic need of any person is food and sanitation and education. So if at the ground level, that is easily accessible to each and everyone, so these kind of activities which come at a later point of time, this could be stopped. So what are your comments on this, and your measures which would you suggest which could like help this prevent all these measures?
Well, since I'm addressing a community which is the future governance of this country, I'm being just relevant. I'm addressing community which is tomorrow's project managers, project directors, public servants, public officials, grassroots leaders. You are going to be administrators, whether in the private sector or the public sector. That's why I'm just trying to narrow down. It is you who will have to deliver. You will have to be courageous to deliver. You will have to be hardworking to deliver. You'll have to be more visible to deliver. You'll have to be more prepared to deliver. This young generation is choosing security of job over delivery. Unless you challenge yourself to say, I'm here for a larger cause and a larger purpose, you will continue to get used, and you'll use others. We used to get out of a user relationship and a service relation instead. Once the youngsters, the millions of public servants who are in this country, millions who are going to be paid very heavily by the Seventh Pay Commission, I think they have to be better deliverers, and that's your generation. Once you choose, I'll leave this thought with you before I go. And don't forget this. Whatever job you get in future, see how much are you going the extra mile or are you not? Are you reaching out or not? Are you fulfilling a higher purpose or not? Or are you doing minimum or are you doing maximum? Ask yourself. If every one of us decides to do the maximum and go the extra mile, this country would be a different country. Even basically the All India Civil Services, if it starts delivering, it will be a different country. And you're going to be part of that one day, sooner or later. Whether it's engineering, or whether it's administration, or whether it's administration, whether it's the corporate sector. Go the extra miles. Ask yourself every day, have I delivered to the maximum or have I chosen the minimum? And once each one of you starts delivering the maximum, India will benefit. India will change, not otherwise. And if you say, okay, let me do minimum, let him do maximum. And he'll say, let him do maximum, let me do minimum. Then you will have minimum service, not minimum governance. You will have minimum service, maximum government. Thank you.
I now request the Faculty Advisor of EML, Preeti Ma'am, to felicitate the speaker with a memento. Thank you, ma'am, for that insightful lecture. I'm sure the audience gathered a lot of knowledge and inspiration from your talk. We express our gratitude to Dr. Kiran Bedi for giving us this opportunity to have her here with us today. Ma'am, it was indeed a pleasure hosting you here. request everyone to stay back. We will be playing the national anthem once again. I now request everyone to stand up for the national anthem.